All right, this is going to be a continuation of the anatomy of the alimentary canal. This will be slides 11 through 16. The pharynx, most of this is just review. The pharynx is the true throat. So way in the back of the mouth is where we find the pharynx. It has openings to the nasal passages. We know this when we do things like swallow milk and it comes up our nose. Openings to the larynx. So material can go down our windpipe, quote unquote, if we're not careful. And then the one we're really concerned with right now is the opening to the esophagus. So this would be the pathway food takes from the mouth to the esophagus. And as we have already discussed, the epiglottis is that tissue that covers the larynx during swallowing. The esophagus is just a long tube, lies posterior to the larynx, made of connective tissue and smooth muscle, just like all the other parts of the alimentary canal. It has a sphincter at the bottom called the lower esophageal sphincter, and then that sphincter is under sympathetic control and is normally closed. Heartburn is when acid from the stomach is able to pass up through that lower esophageal sphincter and burn parts of the esophagus. That heartburn, or the ability for the acid to do that, could be related to just a weak lower esophageal sphincter, by the way, which is also called the cardiac sphincter sometimes. But that heartburn could be because of a weak sphincter. Or it could also be too much acid in the stomach, so it actually forces its way up through. Okay, here's the stomach. Stomach has four functions: digestion, secretion, transportation, and absorption. The digestion part comes in with mixing movements of the stomach. So mixing movements. Enzymes, and acid. Secretion is related to the enzymes and the acids. Acid is secreted in the stomach, so are those enzymes, and we'll talk in detail about those. And absorption in the stomach, we'll talk about what's absorbed there. Three regions of the stomach that we talk about are the fundus, so this region up here, the body, a larger region, and the pylorus. The pyloric sphincter keeps material from entering the small intestine until it's ready. The three smooth muscle layers of the stomach are related to the fact that you still have the two layers we had talked about before. There was a circular, a longitudinal, but there's a third layer that causes the stomach to be able to twist and I guess turn. It's the best word, but that third layer is important for the stomach to be able to really mix together its contents, because it's a very large area, relatively speaking. Okay, oh, and there's the cardiac sphincter here, which we had talked about, which would be the low esophageal sphincter. Small intestine. Small intestine's functions are really digestion of the macromolecules to monomers. So proteins to amino acids, carbohydrates to sugars, those types of things. There is absorption. A lot of absorption happens in the small intestine. Water is absorbed there, macromolecules as well as their monomers. Vitamins, minerals, electrolytes, all absorbed in that small intestine. the small intestine macrostructure, there's three lengths of the small intestine, and you always hear small intestines like 33 or 36 feet long, but so these three lengths make that up. Duodenum comes first. If you want to call it duodenum, duodenum, feel free. Jejunum next, and then the ileum last. The microstructure is really more important, though, in that the microstructure of the small intestine has those mucosal folds, and they're circular folds. So if we were to look at this longitudinally, we have these very detailed folds in here that allow more absorption within the small intestine. And then within those folds, you have these villi projections. So the folds have projections that actually go into the lumen, and those are covered with epithelial cells. And then finally, those epithelial cells even have smaller microvilli, almost like cilia, that project further into the small intestine. This whole folding and projecting idea is so that we can increase surface area so we can absorb more food and more nutrients, I should say. The large intestine is made up of several sections also, but the large intestine is where we absorb and reabsorb water and electrolytes. It's where we form the feces. Large intestine has a normal flora of E. coli. So that's our normal flora in there that help us to do things like form vitamins B and K. It also unfortunately produces gas because those E. coli, that bacteria, as it is producing and metabolizing inside our large intestine, forms that gas, which produces a smell.